Welcome to Cake with Care C. It is February 21st, Tuesday night as usual. We are here live to air every Tuesday. Myself, Care C, along with Kinetic, who is on the line.
Hey,
Hello,
what's up,
hello.
girl?
How you doing?
I'm good. How was the long weekend?
Yeah, it was, well, extra long. If anybody with children out here, most, I think, had the Friday off, so it was an extra long weekend. Um, but when they hit a certain age, it's not even about you anymore. So, but it was cool. It was good. It was beautiful weather. I wasn't out just hanging out in it, but it's been very pleasant. So,
The
very,
winter officially canceled.
yeah, right. That's everybody thinks, and these this plus 10 weather hits, everybody loses their mind and starts packing away their winter gear. I don't know why people, we are in Canada, we are in
Canada,
Toronto, and there's a little more time. So don't get that excited. But enjoy it. And actually tomorrow is supposed to be, I heard this morning it might even go up to 16 degrees. Like, whoa,
yeah. This is the
February
time you
20th.
get sick, so just keep your winter jackets on, and
Exactly. But
uh,
enjoy it though, man. I mean, I don't mind the cold, honestly. I do not mind the cold. It's and I love the snow at like just looking at it. And
yeah,
if it
you're
would just,
Canadian.
yeah, if it would just stay on the side, like on the lawns or something. But if it, when it starts interfering with my driving, my walking, then I got a problem with it. But yeah, I don't
Problem with
mind
this.
it. But what?
I have a problem with it. Period.
No, the cold, I don't listen, we could dress for it. And as long as you're geared up, you're good. It's the messy stuff that you can never be 100% prepared for. Like, yeah, you can have your winter tires and we're good in that sense, but there's still a lot of accidents out there. So um yeah, it's just messy to deal with and getting your gear all dirty and all that. Like I could do without that. But that's why I escape it a couple times every
Yeah.
year when I can, but not this year. I'm around this year, uh, and for good reason. But yeah, so anybody who's already tuned in listening, and you want to invite your friends, send them over to vexradio.com, which is most likely how you found us tonight. And there is a link at the very top of the page where you can click to join us live. Um, as usual, at some point during the show, I'm going to post the link where you can actually join the conversation. That'll happen sooner than later tonight. So within the next half hour, 45 minutes, I'll post that link right on the page where you're actually viewing and listening to the show. And I'll post it on my social media as well a little later. So, but yeah, some people were trying to just listen to the show and not necessarily join, and they ended up joining last week. So, um, yeah, when I do it, I'll try to make it clear which link is which. And also check out vexradio.com. The site has been a couple of features added. There's constantly um, they're updating with news and other special videos and features that you might be interested in. And I'll give you a little more information about sending a shout out and requesting your songs a little later on in the show as well. And yeah, so tonight we have a very special guest joining us, Mark Stoddart, who is a visual communicator. And we're going to get into a nice little chat with him to find out what he's all about, what he's doing, and I guess look into the future with him, see how far we can look into what he has planned coming up. And yeah, I didn't ask you how your long weekend was,
Oh my.
Kinetic.
Yeah. You know what? It was actually really relaxing. I didn't really, believe it or not, I purposely just kind of did nothing. You know, I just
Mm,
kind of just
mhm,
chilled out. I've been trying to do that a lot lately. I've been really driven, been overworked, and even though I'm a little bit still a little behind on my schedule, I'm almost basically caught up in terms of my quarter goals. So I'll be
mhm.
on schedule for March, and then it's back to it. So I just been trying to just ease back. I didn't really do anything for the family day.
Mm-hmm.
you know, or anything of that nature. It was like, you know, it
Do
was,
you, okay,
yeah.
do you actually celebrate Family Day, if that's the right word to use? Do you recognize it? Do you?
You know what? I think it's the one that I do recognize because I'm not religiously inclined, right? As we know, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't really recognize the religious pagan holidays.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though I might take part in the newfound traditions in terms of family and renewal of family and you know things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you know get together with family, enjoy the family time, and you know, I mean, just catch up with friends, and I use that time to renew the spirit, you know, celebrate the commercialism or the pagan holidays and stuff of that nature. But like Family Day is one of those ones I recognize.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to me. I just didn't partake in it this year.
Mm-hmm.
It was just exhausting. But other than that, it was, you know,
Yeah.
I think it's cool. It's one of those ones I applaud the government for, you know, for implementing. That was a cool one to me.
Yeah, I think the idea is good. I mean, the idea behind it, um, when you put it that way, as far as with the government allowing, but I personally, I see it a little different than you. Like, I appreciate it for a day off. That's for me, that's what it represented. And um, it wasn't always spent with my local family. Just because of other timing, it falls around other important dates for me. So I was able
I'm in
to
Trinidad.
alternate. Yeah,
I'm in Carnival, you know, usually. So you
yeah,
know,
yeah. Well, see,
yeah,
that's where it works out. But uh, yeah. But as far as you brought up, buying into it, and them now making money off of it, basically selling
yeah, the modern
cards
commercials.
and
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, that's where I'm like, no, don't send it. I don't expect it. You're not receiving anything from me. I don't even acknowledge it. I just look at it really as a personal and immediate family time, just like any other day. But I don't even send out the send it out to anybody or get caught up in it. I really don't recognize it as a holiday. It's just a it's
a
a
day off.
holiday. It's a
Yeah,
day
it's a
off.
day
Yeah,
off.
it's a day
Yeah.
off of. But as far as a legit, I'm like, please. Um,
Hmm.
Especially, I think all my single parents can feel the same way. It's like another day where you're with your children all day. So it's it's like
Hey, that's honest.
it's
That's honest. Yeah.
it's kind of one of our regular days kind of thing, but in a good way, in a good way. And I personally, I avoid public events and places on days like this because it's just crazy. It's just like
Right.
that's when everybody has the day off to go. So it's the worst time for me to go to any event, or not event, but like maybe not the zoo, but something like that. I'm like, but yeah, anyway, I just wonder how many people. So, anyone else out there, let me know your thoughts on Family Day, how you feel about it. Do you celebrate it? Do you recognize it? I'd like to hear what other people have to say as well. So, I think Mr. Mark Stoddart is on the line right now. Hello, hello.
Hey, what's going on? I'm online.
You are on the line. Okay,
Yeah,
Blue Man.
yeah. I thought I figured it out when I got off
Mm,
this thing, and I'm okay, I'm good. And then I come back and I'm still seeing blue. So
yeah, I was gonna
maybe
say, I was gonna make a very corny joke, but
you could, but I think it's just representing blue himself, my boy from Scarborough, Malvern. So
ah,
that's blue
okay.
right here. So yeah,
Well, there you.
Blue.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scarborough. Okay. So that's one little bit. That's one little bit of getting to know you. So I've been posting, and the most I've put out there is that you're a visual communicator. So tell me what that, before we get into a deeper uh, to bio of yours,
Okay.
but tell me what that means, and exactly to you.
Well, I kind of defined it as um, my journey has been so many different lanes I've been in as being a graphic designer, from fine artist, from web design, from the clothing component. Everything's been visual. So I just didn't want to feel labeled by just being so-called, oh, Mark, he's the artist or graphic designer. So I said, let me just expand that broad brush in the way to say I'm a visual communicator, and approaching in that kind of direction. And it's been pretty good for me that way. So because people who know me know that there's so many different layers about what I do and what I bring out to people. Hopefully that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I looked, doing my little research, and I looked into some things, and I had a general idea of what it is you do. But this may sound crazy to you. So one of the links I came across that showed your involvement in, oh my gosh, it was a show. It was broadcast on television.
The Star Portraits.
Star Portraits. And so I watched this clip of your appearance, and I actually see you creating this amazing piece of art. And I'm like, wow, like you're a legit artist. Like, I know that just sounds crazy, but it's like you're like a paintbrush, like you're like a, and I mean, that's ignorant to say, because I honestly appreciate, I do consider artists who use a keyboard, or, you know what I mean, other forms, I don't know what you call them, but medium modes, whatever, as artists. I consider them artists, but that made it, I saw you in a different way, put it that. And so I don't know if you get that reaction. And I mean, that also reveals something else about the fact that I have not been to, I know you've had exhibits in the past, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I have.
And, I've missed for a couple of legit reasons when I was actually invited or aware of them. But and so I know that's not the only place you've displayed your art, but when seeing that, I was curious to know where that came in. Is that how you started with your art, and how big is that in your mix of all the art that you produce and everything that you do? The actual.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
It's always going to be a part of me. It's kind of just to even look at my last name, and it's spelled STO, two E's, ART. It's art at the end of it, right? So it's almost like I was destined to be an artist. And my first name is Mark, so I'm leaving a mark some way down the line. So
wow, okay, we're getting deep.
So it's a growing up from like my mom said, when I was in England, I was always grabbing a piece of pencil and a paper, just sketching or doodling. That was like my own little safe haven, in the way of just being creative, or creating a cartoon figure, or tracing something that I liked and cutting it out and recreating characters. Because if maybe I couldn't afford a toy, I would just create my own character and have a little fun with it. So at a young age, that was the premise of who I was just always pen in hand. And it's funny how you say that. People who maybe don't know me now, but never thought that I'm actually a creative drawer. I can actually create things, not do things digitally. But it kind of, as we get to know me, and like I said, there's so many layers of what I do, what I bring to the table. So, but my passion always is that pad to paper. Has to be like a writer needs that pad to write their stories, right? I'm a storyteller through visuals. That's the way I put it.
Actually, I'd actually like to explore your foundation a little bit more. Because basically what it comes down to is, like, you know what, I like most people, and like I'm familiar with your T-shirt line,
right?
I don't know you personally, like, you know what I mean, and stuff of that nature. So I'd like to explore more of the man, your foundation, how you come up with your concepts, the evolution of who you are and how it transpires or inspires your art, and and what's next.
Okay,
if that kind of makes sense.
No, it does. It does.
Okay, can I say, I'm going to say something real quick too. I was actually very surprised that you guys don't know each other personally for some strange reason. I don't know, but I think both of you probably got that reaction from me. But it's funny that you say that, because so many people have seen that image with the fist, and so even if people are not aware of everything that you do, everyone that has seen my post recently that I've been posting on social media, they're like, yeah, I've seen that though. I've seen, and so
It was very well marketed, like, that online
definitely.
presence, the whole idea of using people, generalize, people in the community, and something like that to propel that brand. I always rated that your I guess your marketing strategies and stuff of that nature. You know what I mean? You kept it grassroots, and you had a steady online presence. So it was one of those things that you always, as soon as you saw that fist or that shirt, you knew exactly what it was and where it was coming from. You know?
Appreciate that. I appreciate, because sometimes I don't ask those questions. I just do what I organically feel that's the right thing to do. So just to hear you, not us actually meeting physically, but you knowing the actual symbol in itself and what it represents, and seeing other people within the community wearing it or speaking on behalf of it, it just makes to know that what I'm doing is the right thing. And
That was real cool. It was real cool to me.
and it's funny that it's still. Say again, sorry.
No, I'm sorry to cut you. It's like I was, as I said, it was like the way you did it. You branded it to a point, and it was a consistent brand. So no matter what, you always had that brand out. It was something that it almost to be quite like, if I had to criticize, it was almost done too long, where it's just saying, yeah, I saw that again. Like, you got to the point where if the only criticism was, okay, yeah, like, you know what I mean, I've seen that one shirt a million times.
Correct.
And now the Carlos, you know what I mean, that has come out, and that whole line, it's like now we're starting to see that one. It's like, all right, cool, like now we're seeing your stuff, so it's like,
no, what you're saying is just the evolution of where it's going and how the story is connecting even more.
right, yeah, that's dope.
It's that time doing it. I kind of want to start at this point and go back further to where I started. But 2010 is probably I started getting back into clothing, or getting back into the becoming more true to myself and becoming an artist. And it was pretty much I'm dating myself. I'm trying to get everything correct, the numbers. But when Blue passed away, and I think that was in 2009, if I'm correct, that totally changed my total perspective of what I wanted to do. Because in Malvern, when his passing was so a total shock within the community, and how he passed, and knowing Sean at that time, and seeing the community from all realms of the community, even from people from Mississauga, Ajax, or whatever it is, or Oakville, people knew who Sean was. And coming to that funeral in Malvern, and the way Malvern as a community came together, and from good to bad, from whatever, every surrounding of the community was there. And I said to myself, if that was going to be my time, when my doors are closed, I want to be the way of impacting the world in the same way that what Sean did. And I knew the only way that's going to happen is that I got to do what I want to do, and that's to be a true artist. And that's when I left my job. I was working for Cadbury at that time. It's like with any business, downsizing, renewing the contract, and then they didn't want to renew it. I think that was the perfect time for me to say, you know what, maybe it was time for me to actually just step away from it and actually just focus on my career as an artist. And that's what I did. So in late 2010 is I started doing my art shows, getting back into just creating. And one of the goals was creating 40 pieces at the age of 40. And that was my 40/40 collection. And I kind of guess I put that together. I did do a full complete show showing like 40 pieces. So that was phenomenal for my own setting goals for myself. But then I always wanted to do t-shirts again, because my first t-shirt I did was in 89, and I was in high school.
Wow.
So that was my first my first t-shirt. And always been doing t-shirts throughout the years and stuff, but I stopped. And just like with any crossroad, just wanted to figure out what's going to be the next move. But to come back into it, fast forwarding to now 2010 is when I started doing the t-shirts again. You guys know Cabby Cabrera Richards? He works on the host. So he did on the score and stuff, and he did this. Now he's working for TSN. So one of his last interviews with the score was he interviewed Michael Jordan, And anybody who knows me knows that I was a Jordan head from high school. Like I had every shoe from the ones to the 12s. I had them before they ever came out to, at that time, when Jordan came out with the shoes, is that in Canada, you could never get the shoes. You had to go to New York to get them. So the fashion statement coming to New York and coming home, like you're the guy if you had like the newest shoes. So I was that Jordan guy. So anyone who knew me knew that I was that guy was a fan of Jordan. But to, again, fast forwarding to see Cabby, never meeting Michael Jordan, but having Cabby wear one of my T-shirts, interviewing him, for me, realized, okay, I may not have to connect to meet somebody, but I can have somebody else who can connect themselves to that person. And I kind of guess that kind of propelled me to realize that maybe I can keep creating stuff that represents what I do. And that's when the fist came into place, because the first emblem, I don't know if you guys did your research a little bit, it was 1968, it was the emblem. A lot of people didn't really get it. Yeah, so a lot of people didn't really get it. So I said, let me just focus on the fist. So I pulled away from everything and focused on the fist. And at that time in 2010, I didn't know, I knew of the moment, I knew of the history of the demonstration, but I never met Dr. C, Dr. Carlos. But I just had to say, let's do things, speak truth to power, just keep doing the things that I like to do. So I put that shirt out, reached out to all the community people who knew me. And I said on April 4th was the first photo shoot. That was the day of not Dr. King's being assassination. I thought I wanted to honor Dr. King and do a photo shoot on that day. And that first photo shoot, there was Saida Click, Archie Lean, who passed away. He came to that photo shoot, which was an honor. Brandon Hayes, Darren Anthony, King Rain came to that first one. He was there. So it was probably like at least 25 people showed up at the studio, and I didn't know that reaction from that to build on to the next. We did like over 3 photo shoots consistently throughout that year, or from 2010 to probably 10 to 11. We had shot over at least 70 or 80 people. And the way that time with Facebook, it was okay to tag people. People didn't mind being tagged behind a concept. So I kind of guess at that time I was okay, but now you can't really tag people, man. People just don't want to be inundated by madness. But I was fortunate in a way that when I started the campaign and people supported it, because I was able to tell my story through their story and bridge it that way, and create that whole brand awareness behind it. And again, with behind marketing, it has to have a strong story behind it. And it just moved. It actually reached people in the way I didn't expect. It was so organic in the way that people just wanted to be a part of the movement. And I was just, again, it's all about the right place at the right time, and just staying true to what you do. So yeah, I can keep rambling, but
no. So oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was saying, but to be honest, with the campaign that you've done, like I think it was a time, like what you touched on, it was, that whole revolutionary act in that time of 1968, when both those, men put up their fists in protest. And even, I mean, I can't recall the white guy's name that was
Peter Norman.
Yeah, that's right. That, even him standing up there at that act, because he already knew what was happening as well. So a lot of people don't know that story. They need to actually research that story, because he has a major part behind that story as well, just standing there.
Yes. There's one movie, if you guys have time to, there's a documentary that Peter Norman's nephew, Matt Norman, did. It's called Salute. So it gives a different perspective of what Peter Norman went through after the whole protest in 1968. Right. Just to add to that narrative is that Peter Norman knew what was happening around the demonstration, but he didn't know exactly when his face was turned that way. He didn't know exactly what was Tommy and Dr. Carlos was going to do. He just knew that they were going to stand up on that podium. So that honest reaction that he got when you see his face not knowing, it's truly, he didn't know. Yeah. But he was aware that, because if you look on that image, it's one of the most iconic image for the 20th century, that he's wearing a badge on his chest.
Right, that's right. That's what I was about to say. Like, he knew that there was a form of protest.
Yeah, he was wanted to be a part of supporting it. So he wore the badge. And And that badge was Olympic Project for Human Rights. So a lot of people thought it was a Black Power salute, which it was. It was focused for Black people, but it's again for all people, for all nations.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the newest shirts that I've done, if you looked at the fist itself has 5 colors on it, because the Olympic rings have 5 colors, and those are the same
That's
colors
cool.
I
That's
use.
fresh. Wow. Yeah.
So a lot of people who look at it, I'm saying that, what does the rings represent? And a lot of people, because again, as a designer, you always got to figure about creating symbols that are iconic for one, simplistic, and timeless in a way that has a strong story behind it. So a lot of people realize, they see the Olympic rings every 4 years, it keeps coming out, but a lot of people don't realize those rings represent the 5 major continents.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So I always challenge the kids, because I do this when I do my seminars with students. As I said, what are the 5 major continents? And then knowing your geography, again, we know Europe, Asia, South America, North America, Africa, and China, and then you got Australia. So, but again, if you look at the society, those links are saying that we all are linked together, but in reality, we're not really linked together. There is some form of division, or the chains are broken. So the goal is actually unifying everybody to think as one people, because at the end of the day, we are human beings. And that's what the fist does. If you clench the fist, if it's an open hand fist, but if you close it into a fist,
All
tightly together, that's all of us working as one people. And that's what the fist represents.
So let me go. Oh, go ahead. No, finish that.
No, I'll stop. I'll leave it there and let you guys ask the question.
No, I wanted to, we'll remember what you're going to say, but going back, so I want to go back to, first of all, you mentioned England. So is that where you were born, raised? How did
I was born it was, with every family of the West Indies. My parents are originally from Jamaica.
Okay.
From Jamaica, they left at a young age and migrated to the UK.
Okay.
And then from the UK, that's where myself and my sister was born. And so a majority of my family are still there. I'm still a citizen. I'm still a British citizen.
Okay.
So left at the age of 7 to come to, my dad left first to come to Canada, because where my great uncle lives. And pretty much he sent for my dad, and a few of my other cousins migrated from England to Canada. Well, first he went to New York first. He didn't like it in New York. And then he just came to Canada. So his first job was his only job, which is very rare that you hear people stay in a job for such a long period of time. He worked. So technically, he worked for Cadbury. So I was a Cadbury baby. So
okay.
My dad been there for at least 35 years of his life working for this particular company.
Wow.
Growing up, I was the new kid on the block, because my dad would come home with all the newest gums from chocolate, whatever. And I'll bring that to the schools, and then I would share it with all my friends for the first time around. And then the second time around, I would sell it.
Oh, damn. Okay.
So for that time, I became a young entrepreneur at a young age, man. So I was flipping.
That's actually my story.
So I think from that, I just realized that the entrepreneurial spirit was in me. Just to interact with people and meet people and just sell something to them, something that somebody needed something from me.
Or really wanted. When they want it bad enough, it becomes a need. Funny that you went right into that, because that's where I was going to get to, is like, how did your, but so before that now, discovering and I remember you saying that your mother can recall you as a child always sketching, playing, creating your own images. And so I want to know, like, when did it become a business almost for you, or like the first thing that you ventured into as far as with your art and selling were your first set of t-shirts? So how did you make that connection? And I'm also curious about school and how major a role that played as far as like art classes or anything like that. And was it encouraged? Was that part of you stimulated in school, or was this just all on you?
No, it's a little bit of both. That's a good question. I think in my junior was like 7 and 8. Like it's like, again, my safe haven just to draw. I remember I was a Rolling Stone from junior public schools. I went to like 4 of them. I was just, I wouldn't say disobedient. I was just didn't want to learn. So they kind of boxed me as a child that was slow, just didn't want to excel. So I think with a lot of schools, they just want to sweep you underneath the rug kind of thing. So I was at West Hill Junior Public School, and then I went to John Buchanan, which is up on Warden. I was there for a while. And that's when one of the teachers kind of influenced me to actually just to draw. And I was able to create my own little art show. I was able to, every day I was drawing and putting images on the wall. So it's like my own hallway of artwork, just posting on the wall, all the way from one hallway down to the other. It gave me the opportunity to do that, just to express myself. I think after that, I went to Joseph Howe, which is up on Port Union. And from there, I went to Cedar Brae. That was the high school that kind of stayed my grounds. And there was an arts program in there. But the two things that I was good at was basketball and arts. Everything in between that was just trying to get by. And my conflict was in Cedar Brae. It was my art teacher. His name was Mr. McGill.
Right?
It was in a negative way, but I still remember him. Yeah, real conflict. It's promised. It pretty much is basis to who I am today in a way. It was always like that. Those like the old school artists in the way of certain styles that they want us to create or emulate. And I was a rebel of that. I just didn't want to draw that. I wanted to draw what I wanted to draw. So by doing that, I always would get the C's and D's. I will never get the high marks like everything if I conform to everybody else is doing what he asked to do. So I remember staying up late, very late on the project, thinking that, I'm definitely have to get at least a B off of this. But I'm thinking to myself, it's an A. So we get to the next day. Everyone's handing in their assignments and he's looking at them because he knows right there. He wasn't allow us to, he wouldn't let it sit there. He would just look at the marks, look at the artwork and mark it right there, right in front of you. So then it was my turn. He looks at me, looks at my artwork. I'm like, okay, here we go. And he signs it. And then again, he gives me the lowest mark, he gives me a C. And right there, I just looked at him. I was so upset. There's so much energy was inside of me. So I was holding onto the table and I took the table and flipped it over him. So I actually lifted up the table and threw it on top of him.
Wow.
And so he was shocked. Everybody was shocked.
Of course.
And then from that, my other art teacher, who's pretty much, he was Mr. Roulard. He was one of my better teachers who pretty much protected me. He heard the noise. He came in and he grabbed me, took me out. And then pretty much they wanted to kick me out of the school, out of Cedar Brae. But I kind of guess since I was on the basketball team and our basketball team was going to the finals, they didn't want to get rid of me because they had their own internal motive.
Wow.
So they just suspended me for the couple of days. My mother came into the school and they're pretty much just telling her that your son is a rebel. He doesn't want to conform. I don't know if we can take him anymore. And again, in those times, they want to take you to these vocational schools like Borden, Osler, those kind of schools. And my mom said, no, he's staying here. He's going to graduate here. So, and then my guidance teacher, which was our basketball coach, in those days, they had like a file from when you're from grade 4 all the way to high school. Everything with people to document who you were. And the same teacher who had a conflict of interest with, he pretty much wrote in the form, he said, Mark has a snowball chance in hell of passing my class. So pretty much he had it out for me from the get-go. He just didn't like me. And that's the reality of life in the way that people are not going to support with everything that who you are. And that's what my guidance teacher was telling me, that you just got to kind of weather the storm and kind of just align yourself with the people who want to support you. And that's to add to that, it was like they're saying, oh, your son's too corrupt. And then my mom goes, no, my son is not corrupt. The system is corrupt. You guys are corrupt. And then from that, I took that word, I played on that word, because if you get to know me, it's like I said, 2 negative makes a positive. So I'm saying, like, when you really get to know me, you realize I'm not that person. But again, it's a word that people always will tend to remember. And that's my first business I called it Corrupt Designs.
Yeah.
Based on that whole journey of what I went.
I've always wondered how that it's
from my mom. But she'll deny it, but she'll say, okay, it's based off of that. So
it's like, I didn't give you that name though.
no, no,
I
exactly.
didn't call you no corrupt.
No. But
Okay.
yeah. So that being said, in high school, my first T-shirt was in '89 when I did my first design, and that was the Black Panther. I know you guys followed the Avengers that came out. The Black Panther, T'Challa. He's the newest member from the Avengers that's coming out. They're doing a new movie of him now for Marvel, and I was a big fan of him. So that was my first T-shirt design. Was this image of him. Behind him was the map of Africa, and when I created that, it was a group of my homies from high school. We called ourselves the Brotherhood. And it was like 7 of us. And we all had our own little nicknames on the back of the shirts. And that time, going to Caravana when it was on University,
Okay.
not where it was on where it is now, but on
Make
University when it's open and you get up at University and you just see the community, everybody's out there, everybody's having a good time. That was Caravana for me. And we wore the shirts there. And right there, we're instant celebrities. People were just wanted to know who we were, where we come from, like what's going on here. Like just the reaction was insane. And that 89 to 9, that's when the whole level of consciousnness was going on. Because Adrian from Two Black Guys came out with his clothing line with Two Black Guys. There was a lot of I'm trying to think of all the brands in the 90s that were coming up, because in the US there was like Cross Colors, Call Kanai. There was a level of consciousness that people just wanted to wear things that had some level of empowerment. And that kind of stayed with me. Like I always wanted to create things that were thought provoking. I just couldn't create things that were just very cookie cutter kind of formula. I always wanted to be in a position that if you're going to wear something, I'd rather you feel uncomfortable, the person who sees you wearing it be uncomfortable, because you're speaking something to something that what's happening. So I just knew at a young age that I knew that if I can create things that people just wanted to be a part of or be a part of some kind of a movement, then I have something. So yeah, that's pretty much going along the story of Mark Stoddart.
So no, it's amazing. So now, before I want to jump ahead now, I don't know if you had any questions about that time, but
no, I actually the only thing I wanted to really ask is who were you? You know what? This is just there's no right or wrong answer. It's just like who was the major musical influences at that time? Like was it or albums that was it X Clan? Was it Public Enemy? Was it like was it because like who were the major influences behind that whole movement? And that brought because your theme always seems to be like revolution of sorts, right? Like like Angela Davis is like who are your major influences at that point that brought you or helped you hone your whole creative process and idea and and musical influences, things of that nature?
Well, it's a little bit like music and activism is all aligned in one for me. When it came to books to read, there was like with Malcolm X. It's funny enough, today we're having this conversation on the 21st is the day that Malcolm was assassinated, right? So just, homage or honor to him today is good. He's definitely been an influence in my life and tailoring of the way I think, and again, being a service to the community as a whole. Angela Davis, the Black Panther movement, right? With Bobby Seale, Bobby Hutton, Edgar Cleaver. The list can go on with that. So with the music component at that time in the 90s or 89, 90s, like you had like Public Enemy, KRS One, Brand Nubians, X Clan, like as you mentioned. Even with Tribe Called Quest, you know what I mean? Jungle Brothers. There's I can keep it was just that time of that stuff.
So it was just that time, it's just that era.
That era. And it's like it wasn't
a message. There was a message in it.
There were less commercial music than that was just a stream. Excuse me. That was the stream that was happening, and that was the sound, the frequency that everybody was on. So there wasn't really then again, MC Hammer was another viable source, or the other guy. It makes, I don't know. I'm just make me start questions. But
Yeah,
there
no.
was a commercial side, but there was a level of consciousness that was strong at that time as well. So
And
there was
even visually, when we think back to what the artists, how their appearance and their dress. I mean, when you
correct.
think back to artists, like they made statements what they wore, and we can make a connection. So it wasn't they were going into the store and buying like the cookie cutter, as you called it, um, American regular designers. You know what I mean? That came a little later where people started getting back into labels, but there was a period where color and style and fashion making a statement and connecting us to our roots, or as much as we could have or they could have. um, uh, that was acceptable. That was the style. That was the
Mhm.
feel, the vibe. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I could see why just overall the influence, like it was just that was in the air, like you had to be saying something, you know what I mean, to say something.
Correct.
It wasn't,
And
yeah.
Wearing the African chain. You remember the leather African chains or the beads,
yeah, I still have
or
those. Those
that's that whole
Hmm.
movement. Like, yeah,
that was
Hmm.
heavy.
me too. Actually,
Hmm.
yeah.
That was the like it was that or the opposite. It was a rope chain. Whatever that is, you're
Mm.
part of the culture.
Yeah.
You knew that you wanted to emulate whatever that was you're representing that. So through
Hmm.
the music, culturally speaking it, talking it, it was all is a part of our DNA. And you can see the shift that it's still like today's music. They have their own fashion. I
Hmm.
won't get into that as much because I'm not a
Hmm.
I'm from the old school now, but it's you can see everything comes full circle.
Hmm.
So but that was
So
my
now,
heavy. Mhm.
no, I was going to say, so now moving into um like how far from that time, so 89, 90, like when did you make the connection with the 19 the pro, or I wouldn't say
So the,
protest, but the
the
what happened in
demonstration.
1968, yeah, the demonstration, and how, because you seem very connected to it, very passionate about it. And when you so yeah, how many years later, or when did that come in?
Come into play. Well, it's
Hmm.
always been. Um,
You were aware of it.
I was always aware, but like I said, never thought in 1,000 years that I'd be in the position to where I am now. That I'm. It's a part like as when I speak the story of the demonstration, I'm a part of that story because
Hmm.
again in '68, it was a one of the heightens of the civil rights movements of things that were happening around the world, especially in the USA, being Dr. King being assassinated April 4th, 1968, the Vietnam War that was going on, Muhammad Ali, his belt being stripped from him
Hmm. Hmm.
and trying to regain that belt back. Even in Canada, Lincoln Alexander, our first lieutenant governor, which is black,
Hmm.
happened in 1968. So there's things that were happening, and even for myself, the date of my birth was in 1968. So that coin for myself
Wow.
that I had to tell that story to my story.
Hmm.
So I'm almost feel like I'm the seed of that revolution that was planted on that time to grow or stem to what I am today.
Okay, you just blew my mind with that,
So
with that fact.
Yeah. Actually,
But I'll
you
tell
know what?
you, but it's because it's funny, with it being Black History Month, and seeing a lot of information coming through. And every time, I mean, I see things, and especially with this story, 1968, I'm like, that's not even 50 years ago.
well, don't age me
That,
yet, but no, but
no,
yeah,
I know, but that
but
wasn't even, well, people could do the math. But that wasn't even, you know what I mean? And we're thinking about, like, when you see the images of what was happening at that time with the dogs and the
Mhm.
hoses, and I mean, and these are the light images that they keep replaying. There's so much more gruesome, awful details, and and the assassinations, and just being on the brink of things and not being cut short, and just the powers that be just always just using their power to keep whatever in place and keep people down. And i and you think there are people that live that. And I saw a post on Instagram the other day saying, on the reverse side of it, saying, the same, there are people that went through that who did not see African Americans, Black people as humans that are still alive today. Like they're alive. They run businesses. Like a lot of them are older if they were adults, but there are, if you think of how impressionable children are, you know, a 10-year-old child, or by 6 years old, so much there, a lot of their a lot of programming has already been done to their minds. So it's a child who was 6, let's say in 1968, and they're still they're still running things. They're still in very powerful positions today, and they've been conditioned to think a certain way and have a certain outlook. And unless, you know, people really made a conscious effort to erase and reprogram their minds and see people and not as, you know, what they were told, there's still so much of that negativity and hate. So as I was thinking about what you're doing, and even with Kinetic, when you said, you know, the fist and the branding, and I'm thinking it's still so relevant today. It's still necessary today, for us to know the stories, understand it, and learn and take whatever strength and pride and knowledge from these happenings. And so I, you know, as I was looking at it, and Mark, I mean, I've known of you for a while, but really putting it all into perspective and saying how important what you're doing is. And so when did you really understand, and I mean, now I hear it, what you're saying, as far as being connected to the story, like you're woven in by being, by working with one of the men that stood there. You know what I mean? That one of the most iconic images, and you actually, you're cool with him. So
Yeah, that's like my
how did that even happen?
well,
Let's get there.
okay, well, let's get back to what you're saying about.
Yeah, sorry, because I just went on a little rant. Sorry.
You know what? I'm actually gonna cut both of you, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
redirect something. Before we get to that story, I like to explore the back stories that lead up to the moment that she's about to get to, right? And that's actually one of the question I was going to ask, kind of like, before this whole thing, what was the and sorry for cutting you on, Kelsey, there.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
Just
I was
lead
done.
up, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it was just no, but he was about to answer, and I cut him off as well. So I was
Oh,
about
sorry.
to road. But I wanted to get to that point. I was kind of itching to that, and then we kind of meld together in you know, it was like that was the next step. It was kind of going before I wanted to get to that point, kind of personally, right? So just explaining that, Mark, what was the conceptual idea? Like, how did that happen? Like the idea of the fist, like, you know, it's like you explored, like, you know, that, okay, you were born in that time and blah blah blah, but what actually gave you the idea? What was the backstory of you drawing it? You know, like having the idea, the mindset to say, all right, you know what, it's not going to be Muhammad Ali, it's not going to be, you know, Malcolm X, it's not going to be, how come it was this story that, you know, made you, what was the driving factor, you know, behind.
Okay,
And this is before you even met him, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
this
that's
is way
that is.
before.
Yeah, yeah.
So this again, life in the universe is does things in a way you just never know. I don't know. Have you guys read the book The Alchemist by Pablo Coelho?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
So
favorite book.
one of my
Powerful.
powerful books that I kind of guess is like whatever you ask from the universe, it does actually, it will appear on their time in a way that you may not least expect it, but it's going to be there. You just have to be prepared to deal with it. So
Receive and experience.
you got it. And so being a guy with, from, like I said, the music, the clothing, the level of consciousness, I was always been aware of what I wanted to do. And one of the people that I met in the early 90s was Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture. He was the brother who coined the black power in the 60s with Dr. King. He was in Toronto when he was doing a tour, and I got to meet him. I was pretty much at that time, I was at Sheridan College, and I always had my sketchbook with me, and I always so when he was speaking, I sketched a drawing of him, and he signed the book for me. And in the book, he said, "Everything for the people, even art." So from that moment on, I just said, okay, I have a service to do to speak to people in the way that I can feel comfortable speaking. And it's always going to be through art.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not people say I could, but I'm not a motivational speaker. I just feel that I just have the ability to tell my story in my own unique way. So I feel that art for me, as the true form of being a storyteller, is creating symbols or narratives through visually to create an interesting dialogue. And through that, I always kept coming up with concepts and ideas. And like I said, coming back from leaving my last job, I just wanted to get back into painting. And one of the paintings that I did was the actual demonstration. And I actually created the whole image. And what was interesting at that time, I didn't know Dr. Carlos. And it's the funniest thing, I mean, he laughs at this day, is that when I did this image, when you look at the race, you always think of the first place runner, like he's the G, he's the dude kind of thing. You don't think of everybody else in the background, right? And Dr. Carlos made the ultimate sacrifice of placing in third place. When you read the book and hear more about him, you'll understand what he did to make the ultimate sacrifice just to allow Tommy Smith to be first, to come in first place. So for me, growing up, seeing that image, I'm focusing on Tommy Smith. So when I did the concept of the painting on Facebook, I sent an email to him just to connect. Like, one thing with Facebook, you never know who you get to meet. So I thought maybe I could tell him who I was. I'm interested in working with him. I'm an artist, blah, blah, blah. I got no response, zero response from him. And I said, okay, fine, it wasn't meant to be. But I kept doing what I've been doing, like creating the shirts with the fist. But before the fist, it was the image of the 1968 emblem. And then I had other images, because I think that's the time when Obama was the first Black president. I did a design of him. I did one of my other iconic images. I have a continent of Africa, but within Africa is a map of a skull. So it has a powerful symbol to it. A lot of people say, why would you use an image of death representing Africa? But when you really look at it, the oldest bone is found where? In Africa.
Right there.
So it shows that we are the first of all civilization. So that's, for me, creating these images is, again, creating the dialogue. So I had these shirts that I had, I had 7 shirts, and I called it Mark's Madness. So I was selling the shirts, all 7 shirts for it came up to like $5 a shirt, just to turn it out, to get the people's reaction. And people were buying it, because again, you get a full supply of shirts for a full week. You can't go around with that deal. And that went well for me. But then, like I said, that a lot of people didn't know anything about the demonstration. People didn't connect it right away. But everybody can always connect to the fist. So I kind of pulled away and focused on the fist at that time, and which, like we talked about before, that promoting and marketing based off of that, I got a lot of the people within the community to start wearing it and creating that kind of dialogue for me. But at a very young age, it's always been connecting myself with people that were influential in the way of changing my own life or my pathway of doing something in the right way. So I don't know if I answered your question there, but yeah, it was probably, like I said, 2009-ish is when I started getting back into the t-shirts, but on that level of really reaching out to the people.
Yeah, but the question was.
Oh, I did answer the question.
Saying that you kind of touched on it, but the I guess the dialogue that I wanted to really touch on, and without leading you there, is creative process to actually center on the fist. And you said it was, or was like, what was, how did you create it? Like, I'm trying to get to the process of how you actually came up with the final image and what made you center on that. Because, a lot of people could have used, as you said, Malcolm X, or, Muhammad Ali. What was it about that one? Was it because it was 1968 and you were born on that date?
Yeah.
Kind of like, or is it, yeah.
No,
like
no.
A reflection of your story, or like,
Yeah. Okay. So like you said, the one, I guess when people who know me or realize, like, the first design was not the fist, it was the 1968 was the actual emblem. It's the way it's stylized. It was if you look at Mexico City, where the Olympics was, there's a Lance Hyman, and I think I messed up his last name. He was the art director who actually created the whole branding for the Mexico City with his font treatment, everything. And I was a fan of that style. And I mimicked that technique in the way of just tying it in with and creating my own 1968. And then within the 1968, the number one, there was a fist on top of it. That was the real original design. The company at that time I didn't have a company name. I just came up with the 7 shirts. That was one of the 7. I realized that that was probably one of the most popular designs that I had, but it still didn't impact people right away. And so from taking the 1968 emblem itself, I said, let me just focus more on just on the fist. So that was the process. It was pretty much, it was all organic in a way of not, even like I said, not having a company name. Now I have a company name called Live It Wear It. Live It Wear It was just a tagline, but it just evolved in becoming the company. So I just kind of guess to start doing things, allowing things to stick, or allowing the community to kind of speak, but having me to realize what is working, what was not working. So it was like, it kind of guess I was just kind of molding things into
Just
it.
guided.
Yeah. So I just started
just kind of
say again.
No, I'm sorry. I cut you. I said you actually kind of you know, I was trying to lead to that story, and then you answer C's question, and then how did we get it to Live It Wear It? Like, you know, it's like I was trying to go through the chronological how things kind of progressed.
Yeah.
But you kind of touched on it. So
yeah, because again, because again with that, I didn't have a name. It was just a tagline. But it's funny enough with that tagline, a lot of people kept saying "Live It Wear It." So I said, okay, so let me just continue being comfortable with that, and then from that, I just use it as the acronym LIWI, and that was Liwi, which is the whole thing with Live It Wear It. And my whole philosophy behind that, right, is like if you speak it and you talk behind it, right, and you empower behind that, you have to start living it. I mean, and physically showing it. And then my mantra behind that was educate, empower, unite. And that was educating the mind, empowering the body so the souls can unite as one.
You see what's really funny? Oh, sorry, I thought you were finished.
No. You were going to say so I stopped. Yeah.
No, sorry. I said what was really funny to me is like I always.
Hey, I'm sorry, I can't really hear because the connection now is like I'm like breaking up.
For bias, I always see it's good that
Kinetic, yeah, it's his connection. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I kind of can hear you, but I'm trying to. Is it me or is it the?
No. You're cutting out a bit, Kinetic. Yeah, it's not you.
It's not you at all. All right. Well, Kersey, take over in this when I kick it back in.
See, now you're actually clear. I heard all of what you just said. Right there.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So wherever you are, right there, yeah.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say is that basically is you know what, I always likened it, not to say that you copied, but I always felt like it was like the FUBU, you know, for us by us, you know, you did that kind of spin off of it. And it's really cool to hear the story that you actually come up with. Because when I used to hear Live It, Wear It, you know, I was like, all right, yeah, for us, by us, you know, and I likened it to that aspect. And I was wondering how, you know, you came up with that, you know?
Right.
So I'm glad that you're clarifying that, you know, and not to say you were copying or you were emulating, but it was always in the same vein to me, you know?
But then I asked my question, everybody copies in a way of mimicking ideas, right? And I don't take that as a way of, I think it's more of a compliment or honoring something in a way. If you talk about where you got your concept from, thing underneath the sun has been copied in some degree. There's nothing original.
I was about to say that.
Something has been pulled from somewhere else. Like even with the music that you hear today, everybody needs to stay relevant in a way they have to take from something old. So I'm just, like I said, as an artist, you just have to have the ability to actually stay on that course and keep being creative and keep pulling more concepts from it. But don't outrightly, blatantly take something from somebody. That's totally copying from somebody. But if you can take from something to deviate to do something more from it, That's
Mhm.
all the better. Because I give anybody that free reign for that, man.
So can I explore that a little more? And are you given? I'm not saying this. Was that an influence for you, like the idea of it? Again, because it was like when I heard it, and rest assured, don't think that this is a criticism or
No, no, not even, brother.
slight.
No,
Yeah, I'm just saying it's like, you know what, when I heard the name, it was kind of like it was in the same vein, right? You know what I mean? I was like, oh, you know, that's how it was. So that's why I said I really want to explore the idea of where you got that. And it's like, again, it's the backstories that I'm interested in, the stuff that, you know, we won't know or we won't hear. That's where I'm really going with it, right? So
right.
is that idea, what, were they a strong influence in the idea because like you're like kind of like aligning yourself with it, but I don't know if it was intentional or you're just saying like, hey, you know what, it's just a, was it a circumstance or like, you know what I mean, or was like it was an actual direct, hey, you know what, for us by us, you know, Lee, we like, you know what I mean, like,
No, honestly, it's just for you bringing it up. It's kind of it's coincidence in a way. I knew of, okay, of course, Fubu came up before I did, but I never. Only thing I can say I emulated is that as an entrepreneur of brothers working together and building a business. That I can say that I wanted to be a part of that. But if it's the influence of how they use the acronym behind it, maybe I didn't think like that. I just knew that I just needed that catchy tagline based on the 1968.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that tagline was pretty much "Live It Wear" at the beginning. And it was funny, if we had a video, I would show you my first flyer. It was on there. It was strictly that as the campaign tagline. And what else did I say? And the tagline was also with it's not a movement. Wow, so old I can't remember my own phrases now.
You need to post it on
Yeah,
social
but
media now.
but it was a heavy tagline that I used with that, and again, it just spun into it becoming something. It was just the timing behind it, to be honest.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
So and like we said before, just the timing with just having the community supporting it in a way that they didn't have to do it, but they were a perfect spokesperson to actually convey it consistently throughout
Mhm.
the social media component. And then people was wearing their shirts. I never had the opportunity. People always keep saying, Mark, I always see somebody wearing your shirts. I have never seen the life of me seeing people wear my shirts. It's been
Mhm.
a few moments I've seen people with my shirts. But what's great now, I'm seeing some people with some of my older shirts wearing it. So
Mhm.
there've been moments like that, but not on a consistent level. Of people keep saying, I keep seeing somebody in your shirt, or somebody will say, even up to this day, when are you going to be shooting me in the next photo shoot? I'm like, those shots have been done like 4 years ago. I haven't shot those again, but
Oh,
somehow
really? So I was going to ask you about that. So let's get to, if you don't mind, like if we can get to the how you actually connected with John
Dr. C.
Carlos. Yes,
Okay.
Dr. C, as you call him. Because you said you reached out to, it's
Tommy
Tommy
Smith.
Smith.
Tommy Smith, and
That didn't.
that didn't happen until
Mhm.
2011 is when I reached out to Tommy Smith,
Mhm.
and nothing came about. And Dr. Carlos was doing a book tour. He finally made his autobiography of his story, and
Mhm.
he was coming to Toronto. And so the co-writer of the book, Dave Zern, um, was in Toronto, and I reached out to him, and I told him who I was. I'm a local artist, and I'm trying to find a way to meet Dr. Carlos. And he goes, "You know what, Mark? I'll do you a bigger favor that just send me all your information." And I give him one of the T-shirts, the original shirts.
Mhm.
And so within that week, or say 3 or 4 weeks, I got a phone call back, and then Dave pretty much said, "I want to put you on the phone, or I want to connect you to one of his agents or one of his friends, and you guys are gonna have a three-way." I goes, "I don't know what's gonna happen from that, Mark, but just see what good luck kind of scenario."
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that first phone call conversation, I could tell you, I was like clapping in my
You're
pants. You know, like, oh, it's like you talking to a celebrity, right? And
right.
knowing what he's done and his sacrifice,
Mhm.
I'm like pretty much next. I'm a nobody, to be honest. I had nothing really. I thought I know I had something to offer, but I didn't know like will he be received to take me on in or what capacity. So that first phone conversation was one of the most surreal moments that I was humbling in a way, because it wasn't like I was talking to, he wasn't like belittling me. It wasn't not something like he was like a business, but he was just a genuine, humble brother who just wanted to be in the position of telling his story and aligning himself with the people who can actually help that. And he just said, Mark, when you come on this phone, I'm your brother. You tell me what you're looking for and how I can be of service to you. And I was like, okay. And ever since, it's been 8 years since, was it 2000? I can't even count it, but yeah, it's about 6 years since. It's like my mentor, my dad, my brothers. There's so many layers of our relationship. I know his family. He knows my family. He stays by here. I go by his house. So it's like, I'm a part of that family. And
you made a real connection to the shirt. Eh? Oh.
Yeah, it's one of those things you never know what happens. Like I said, you throw it out in the universe, you never know how it lands, right? And it was, again, God aligned us. He did, like even Dr. C says up to today, it was God put you in my life in a way to help me do what I do. And I'm just a vehicle just to assist him along the way. And through his website, through his branding, it's like I'm just that person, and I just keep it relevant for him. To certain things.
And that's, sorry, there's certain things.
No, there's just certain things that he can't do that I just help to assist him along the way. And it's honestly, it's just a labor of love. It's not like I'm making millions off of this. It's just something I believe needs to be talked about, needs to be shown. It shouldn't be happening on February to talk about this kind of moment. It's an everyday moment. It's all about resistance, standing up for something you believe in. So if I have the position to actually kind of keep telling that story through me and my influence from that, I'm just doing my part. I'm just preserving my legacy through his legacy. And
so speaking of the site, your website, the LIWI68.com.
Correct.
So liwi68.com.
And then John Carlos 68.com is it.
Right. So when people go on the site, which is, I love it, it's visually appealing. And so, I mean, coming from a visual communicator.
Oh, yes, for that. Yes.
So, but, so very, like, on your homepage, you'll see the John Carlos link, and where you can actually go onto that site and explore who he is and his merchandise and his book, and I guess
but you have to go to his personal site. That's what I'm saying. Site.
See, but this is what I was saying. Your site links to his site. Yeah.
So no, let's do it backwards. You gotta think of it like this. For myself, is that he's a global icon. Yes. So he has to have his own personal website. Of
course. So, which I did see.
So when you go to his site, so if somebody coming for the first time, not knowing nothing about Live It Wear, because again, we're just a storefront. We're just holding his product underneath our site. So the main site for the narrative of the story is his own personal site. So when you see his site, it has everything based on him, what he's done, his track career, the videos, everything's there.
Okay, and so when I was on his site earlier, I went directly to his site. Sorry, I thought your site actually connected to his. So it's the merchandise there. Okay, so I thought you had a link there. And so I was going to ask you how involved in his site you are.
I'm fully involved. It's a full 100. Yeah. It's not like we have a team of people. It's just myself and him. And there's his daughter that's involved, and then another gentleman. Blaine is another, like Dr. C has had to be aligning himself with good people who support his dreams, and for him to give us a piece of his dream to run with it, right? Because not too many people would want to do that. So I'm blessed in a way that he trusts me as much as he trusts the other people that surround him. His
site is John Carlos 68, right?
Correct. JohnCarlos68.com.
Okay. So that's where I was making the connection, even visually, with it, like liwi68.com. Sorry, go ahead, Kinetic.
No. So now, not to get into your personal business, your personal financial business. I'm not asking for numbers. I don't want you to give those numbers.
Yes, he is. No, I'm kidding.
It's just the two questions I have leading to that. because you said it's not a business thing in terms of it's more of a message and stories, but have you been able to sustain a living off of this to do this full time, or is this like, is it your art and a combination of other things? And the second thing is, how did licensing play into this? Like, when you first talked to him, he said the first thing I heard was agent. Automatically, the business entrepreneur in me said, "All right, licensing is about to come in play." So I'm asking not about the numbers, but more so, what is it? Is it something that you made of living off of, and you've been able to maintain living off of, and the licensing aspect of, because it's not about money, and you said it's a brotherly thing and love thing. Is there any business aspect to that, or is it just straight brotherly love?
No, it's not. It's a little bit of both. It's brotherly and business. You can't it has to.
Yeah.
But to make a living off of this, like I said, like as an entrepreneur, be nice to be a full-time commitment that we're recouping the money off of this, but it doesn't work that way. I think for myself as an artist, I have revenue streams. So for me, my graphic design is one avenue. The clothing in itself is not a revenue stream for myself personally. It's something that we continue to see. The money that comes from that is the money that we put back into the business. So I do not take money from that, but I take the money from myself personally through my graphics, my artistry.
Which I wanted to get into as well, because I know you're involved with other things, and I've seen other people singing your praises. So I'd like we can.
So those components is what is my day-to-day kind of gets the streams of living, right? I do get the odd jobs. No, like jobs that creatively I get to do, but I don't want to put myself in that position of working as a 9-to-5 job. I've separating myself from, I got myself off the grid, off the matrix to do what I can do. And I'm been blessed in the way that I'm able to sustain that, right? So I don't want to doubt that by saying, okay, now, because everybody's gonna have those ups and downs in any way of being an entrepreneur. But I've been blessed in the way that I'm able to sustain that. But
you see,
so let me ask you, because you touched on something, Kinetic, with the fist and
the legal stuff
and all that.
Yeah.
But that being, and I'm gonna, a funny story, because my my girlfriend, this was like a couple weeks ago before we even confirmed the date of this show or anything, and she had seen somebody on Instagram post a fist, and she said, I'm gonna have to ask her who it was again. She goes, I don't know. I think that person needs to be careful, because it's very close to Mark, Mark Stoddart. It's so close to his, and I don't know. That looks like. So she was actually, when she saw a similar image, which it wasn't exactly like, I mean, art is different, and there's minor details, right? But something, the fist alone, and and she got like, it was funny just how she was so concerned about someone using your touching your domain. You know what I mean? But yeah,
that's because we're talking about
very, very ironic.
No, but it's funny how the legal stuff behind this, and I'll get to that, because it's funny with this, is that fist is a universal symbol.
Right,
even before the 60s, people have utilized that to the fullest, because it's a level of a symbol of uprising.
And it was right.
So for me, when I created the symbol itself, the first original one, it was a standalone, graphically I double-edged it differently from every other fist. But again, with people who don't look at it, the details to it, they'll think it's like the same fist that you see all over the place, right? And I get that. So working with Dr. Carlos now, I said, okay, I have to now tweak it and really design that it represents him. So everybody else can have their fist, because I think that it's open for anybody who wants to use it, go ahead and use it. But I have to uniquely create it for him. So with our fist, the glove, the bottom stem of the glove itself is the silhouette of him. Like no other the Michael Jordan has the jump man symbol. If you look at the fist, you'll see a silhouette of him inside the fist. If you look in that, and then you also look at the fingers of the fist, has the multicolors. That is ours. So anybody who comes with using colors like the actual PMS colors, so what we have, and having that silhouette, now you're crossing the line of being,
you're infringing, yeah.
Exactly. But I can't charge somebody to sell something that cease and desist on a fist. It's impossible.
No, I'm gonna give you.
You're breaking off again, brother.
What a nice personal story. I'm gonna.
No, try again.
Now I think you're okay. Let's
Yeah.
hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was really ironic. Believe it or not,
Oh no.
your
Okay. Yeah.
symbol,
Mm-hmm.
actually stopped me personally from going ahead with an idea I had, because I was like, it manifested. Like, I had a T-shirt idea, and it actually was very simple. The iconic, the Afro pick with the
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
I put the Afro pick on a shirt with an African sign instead of the peace symbol, the African sign. But your shirt or your thing actually prevented me from actually doing that. I was like, nah, that's his. And it wasn't influenced from yours, but it was like when we were designing it, and I sat there and went, wow, it's like, that's too close to being from Toronto. And you know what I mean? The idea, it was just like, it was just to put the pick on the shirt, put an African symbol in the middle of it, where the peace sign was. And actually, I went and I stopped that whole movement just because of your shirt, to be honest.
Wow.
But again, that's the level of giving homage and respecting the person who's kind of paved the way of creating something like that. But there's going to be some people who don't give a rat's ass, and they're going to do it, right? So I always feel that I welcome that, because at the end of the day, if you already solidify yourself within the community, people already know for what's real from what's not. And so, like, what I love about when some people say when they see the fist or the demonstration, they think of me. So somehow I'm impacting people still consciously, that I'm in the people's minds. So
that's crazy. So I'm on the site. All the merchandise, then, the hats, the sweatshirts, the T-shirts, are all of the designs created by you on the
all
John
through
Carlos?
everything's through me. Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, how closely do you work with him, or is it just you come up with something and I guess him and his team approves it, or is it you're kind of given that?
It's a little bit of both. A little bit of creative
Okay.
freedom, but at the same time, it's always I have to send him
Still
an
gets
idea. Yeah, of course. It's like if we were to do something of, I don't know, something that's totally opposite from him and post it on a shirt. I can't do that. You know what I mean?
No.
But
that trust is there clearly. I mean,
there's a level of he gives me the creative freedom, because he knows that the intentions is coming from a good place.
Yeah, that. Let me tell you, is the art, like, really looking at it, and I just jumped back on again, and it is really beautiful. I don't know how long ago these were created, but they're timeless. They're classic pieces, I think, and it's easy for everybody to find something that they would love and that could rock.
I wish you repeat that again for people.
No,
in Canada
I'm
to
going
do
to
that.
put it out there because I'm looking at it, and I mean, I'm someone, again, I've been aware of you, and I don't own a piece, but I'm looking to say, okay, I gotta own something.
But that's my.
But it's not even about feeling like I have to, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, this is, or gift ideas, you know what I mean? But so how long, so you've been working on this for the last few years, so how often do you roll something out? How, like, the oldest design on the site, for instance, how long has it been there? I'm
From
curious because
Dr. C, or just the site in general?
yeah, like on, let's say, the Dr. C, before we get back to your side.
The oldest design will probably be the actual the fist, the multicolored fist is probably the oldest one that I can think of. Now you got me looking at my own site.
No, and I'm just saying, but I'm just saying how, like, you I don't know, just you created something that's classic, put it that way. It is a timeless, it is a timeless look. It's timeless. So go ahead.
So
sorry, no, I'm actually surprised that you actually haven't looked to license this and put this on an international plane, because it's such an iconic time and such an iconic symbol, and everything that you have there relates back to something that anybody that was born in the 60s, 70s, 80s can relate to, and it's still to this day kids will know. They may
When you
not
hear
know.
the story, learn the story.
Yeah, you may not know why they put up their fists, but you will know the image. And I'm surprised that you haven't explored licensing, like, on a
No, there's
global level.
license. When you say
Oh no,
licensing,
they have.
when you say licensing, when you mean like if we trademarked our brand, or you're talking about
No,
licensing?
no,
Like,
license as in give it to a major
Oh, to
label to
use?
distribute and build posters out of it, and like everything that you've done. Like, I'm surprised that you haven't given it to a company that could bring that globally.
I think with that is it's they, like even Dr. C, they have to come to us in a way of reaching out to us. I think if we keep everything in house, allow it to grow that way, because things through the pipeline, a lot of things are happening now because through the like I kind of I'm backtracking here, but like even like
No.
the demonstration like with Colin Kaepernick, like a lot of
Okay.
sports,
You
like
brought
a
that.
lot, yeah. So a
I
lot of
was coming with
sports, yeah.
that.
So a lot of things are sparking the conversation of things are in those steps of things are happening. So
Let me ask you, have you thought about working with him and creating any images with him?
there is one.
That
There is one. If you look at the site on the first page,
okay?
there's an image of the actual demonstration.
Was that inspired by, or was that something
No,
like a
what was
collaboration?
it's a collaboration. What happened is that
Oh.
when this came out, there was an artist. His name is wow. He's gonna kill me if I forget his name. But he's from
Okay.
California, and he
We'll
came up
get
with this
back. Yeah.
illustration. If you look at it, there's the demonstration. Then on the last podium, which was the podium for Peter Norman, you have Colin Kaepernick sitting. Because
Oh
originally he did the
wow.
demonstration, he was sitting down. He didn't take a knee. He sat on the chair.
Right.
So you made him sit on the podium. And what was great with that was that it was funny, like when I posted it from the artist, it was got a lot of likes on Instagram. People just loving it. But the one thing about creating an idea, you gotta when it spikes high enough that people want it, you gotta put it out there quick enough, because it will slowly die when the people don't want it anymore.
Timing, yeah.
It's all about the timing of it. So reaching out to the artist, he agreed on the terms and we liked it. He gave me the artwork, because it'd be rude for me to take the idea and print it myself without telling him. So we collaborate on the aspect of me utilizing his imagery for a limited amount of shirts. And that was it. And then the tagline was that I took the "We Stand for You," representing that with Dr. C. And that again, it's all about the timing. It went well for the time being because Colin Kaepernick was the topic of conversation
for a minute. Yeah.
it became Dr. C became even more relevant because everybody's linking demonstration of protest,
of course, yeah,
to sports, and the most
you
iconic
always have to
demonstration.
mention, yeah, you can't
Exactly.
talk about that without mentioning that one.
And then you can't also mention the people like the Bill Russells, the Jim Browns, the Muhammad Ali. You start linking the lineage of actually speaking out against resistance, because that was the only playing field that we had to speak out. Like Jackie Robinson, for what he had to do being the first baseball player and what he had to go through without fighting anybody that will say the ridiculous nicknames to whatever, a slander to him, and he had to resist and not do anything. And for his story,
you look at that happening now with a lot of like the European soccer, or I don't know, football, whatever. I don't follow it, but when I see some headlines, what they're referred to, and it's still happening. And this is why I was saying it's still so relevant. And yeah, this is so going back to, so I wanted to actually, since we're talking about sports, I know that you also had an exhibit, or you did a collection with other athletes. Talk about that one. Yeah, talk about that exhibit. And I do remember, and actually one of the links that I got, that I was able to see on you was involved a lot of people from the NBA circle, and so speak about that connection, and then the artwork, the piece that you created.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and therefore,
like I said, we talked about me being a visual communicator. Like I said, never to feel boxed in that I'm just that one-dimensional artist. Like the for me is always be in a position of being creative. And then the technique that I did was um, drawing the image, and then from that digitally taking the image and using um, news articles of what athlete or activist, the person that inspires me, and tell their story through the news articles. So the sports collection that I did was the gallery in the distillery. It's called the Sports Gallery. Wayne Harris is is the owner of the gallery, and he allowed me, because what they had, the Sports Gallery is pretty. You guys, I don't know if you guys remember, but there's Sports Illustrated, but before Sports Illustrated, there was Sports Magazine, and they had all the most iconic black and whites and even color photos of athletes in the early 40s and up to the 60s. And I was like a kid in a candy store seeing all these photos, like stuff like be-real images that you wouldn't even think, like with Wilt Chamberlain when he was 17 kind of shots, and like stuff like Jack and Lou Alcindor. So at that time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But it was just great photos for me to take and actually digitally these pieces. And again, it's just getting them in the right people to see them. So again, it's all about building relationships. So I'm good friends like with Sherman, who's a sports commentator for the Raptors. There was Dwayne Casey at that time. We did something for the Raptors that he got to see some of the artwork, and which he was very appreciative of seeing it. And it just stemmed down the line to even having Masai and Jerry having two of the pieces in his office at the Raptors office, right? So it's been interesting that people now are starting to know what I'm doing. But the challenge for me as an artist is that when you're in Canada, sometimes you almost feel like you're oversaturated, that there's not enough opportunity here as much as it is in the US, especially with the work that I do, that to be more of a reception there in the US than Canada. But I've always begged to differ, because I'm here from Toronto. I feel like whatever I create, I should have to support from the community in its home. And I have, but sometimes the artists are always looking for more. But I gotta go. Like I said, I have to go elsewhere to see what I can do with the body of work that I have, especially with the people that I'm creating of. It's been one of my unique challenges, that as an artist, you want to create, but at the same time, I have to have the marketing head as well and think about what do I need to do to live off of what I do. And that's always been one of my challenges.
And when you think, and like what you said, most of the people that you feature, or a lot of the connections, are Americans and from abroad, like international. So and I respect that, the love for Toronto and the love for home and having that connection. But I think just like I think Kinetic was kind of alluding to that, saying what we see here and what we it's big. It's like, and there should be no limit, and and so I could definitely see your work being featured elsewhere in other cities and it receiving crazy love. And it's a numbers game, like you said. It's a numbers thing. Down in certain cities in the States, like, you put the word out and you have hundreds of people there, easy. So yeah. So is that the future, looking ahead?
Yeah, definitely. But I always trying to figure out myself is that why is it that Canadian artists or the artistry is not breaking in Canada? Like, even with music, it's always like you have to leave abroad to make a real strong name for yourself, to come back for people to start loving you. And I'm like even the conversation we just had, like, we known each other for a while. Everybody seen the product, but what is missing? What's the missing equation that people are not coming to the site, or say, you know what? I'll link up with Mark at a pop-up shop or Afrofest or Caravana to link up to get a shirt. No, why not say, you know what? I want that product so bad, I need to have it. And I don't get that all the time. They always say that they'll meet me on a rebound somewhere to link up with me, or I'll meet you at the mall to buy a shirt. No.
Actually, ironically, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine. We were it was shout out Akem Troopers. We're talking about that in terms of music, and we're talking about just art general, support generally. And everybody says, we're the screw face capital, the hated capital of the world. It's not really that. It's that we even artists that come into Toronto, whether they're rappers or whatever, we don't necessarily celebrate generally. Like, you know what, like when you go to the States, you tell people to pump their fists, jump up and down, they do what they do. We're not hypnotized by celebrity or celebritism, or if that's a word, or like we don't get excited. Like, anybody can walk down until you get to superstar status, and then we pay attention. So it's kind of like our culture is very sublime to what is going on. We're not a entrepreneurial spirited country. We're becoming that. Our idealisms are not, oh, this person is a star, let me support what he's doing. It's more about, we support greatness versus do we so, like, you have to earn your support, versus in the States where, yeah, I got a mixtape, I'm coming out with it, and support me, and they'll hit you off with that $10, right, or that $20, or they'll take your mixtape. Here it's like kind of like you first got to break ground, and when you make it abroad, now we celebrate you.
Well,
I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a more of observation that we spoke about, and we realized that this is Toronto. That's our culture in Toronto.
No, you're right. But again, as a business person like myself, just objectively watching how it plays out, I've been doing this for 27 plus years. Like, people know what I do in different lanes of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing, when it comes down to breaking ground, people within conversation, everybody knows the direction of, and I'm not changing it. This is it. So the challenge is that people in Toronto sometimes feel they get too comfortable knowing that Mark's just around the corner. I'll get that eventually, right? And it's not that urgency of, what, I got to get this product right now, because there may not be enough of those left. So I got to, as logically, think about what's going to be the next strategy of building the audience of people buying into whatever I come up with, or a limited edition, whatever it is. People just want to get it right off the bat. Canadian wise, US, I don't have to sell it. People already know.
Right.
It's not a hard sell. I already know when they see it, they know the imagery. They say how much, they no problem. And that's one.
The thing is with your and you know what? Full props to it. Like what you touched on. Who am I to tell you which way to go? Just the businessman, the entrepreneur in me says, like, you know what? Your product is too dope and too timeless, as Kelsey said, to just be limited to 100 pieces, or or like, that whole strategy of, what I mean? Like, whether it be 100 miles, or whether it be Stuzzy, or what I mean? Like, what I mean? Or whatever it may be. I think your product is too dope just to be limited. And one of the questions I wanted to ask was, how far has your product reached? Like, has it reached Russia? Has it reached Africa? Has it reached Japan or China? Or like, where has it reached?
Well, the one thing
that you can quantify.
Well, the one thing about the internet is the shop is open all night, 24 hours, right? So, and the blessing part with if you know how to use this Google Analytics and all this, I'm still trying to learn. I'm learning as it is. I'm still a sponge and trying to figure out strategies. But there's times that I'm shocked when I get an email from Italy, or like I said, from Sweden, that I know, like, shit, I can't ship this because my shipping alone is costing me more than the actual product, Bridget.
The profit, yeah.
Like, it's cutting into my margin right now, right? I'm like, this is crazy. So how do like I said, I'm not tracking this, so I'm hoping it gets there, kind of scenario. But but again, it's the story that's reaching people, because they're coming from not to go and live it, wear it. They're going to actually go on to John Carlos's website and seeing what they see from there, and redirecting to coming to the storefront, which is the Live It Wear It site, which has everything. But they're going primarily for Dr. C. But who says that they might want to go a little window shopping throughout the site to see what else is there? And if they do, it's like Alice in Wonderland. You're just going down that rabbit's hole, finding more information, things that are consistent to what the theme is. So there's been moments that I'm seeing people around the world reaching out. And
the question is, how far? So Italy has been the farthest. Has it been Australia?
Australia,
Russia? Like
Russia.
Where has it?
You just said it. You just said those names, brother. It's reached Europe. Like, it's touched like England. It's been there. It's touching those areas that I have to ship out to those parts of the world. And I never had that ability before. Normally, what will happen is that I have the Canadian circle of people when I do events that will purchase what I do, and then when I go to the U.S. But the majority of sales is probably U.S. because there's a U.S. market.
Right.
But it should be a global market. The story is
yeah,
global. There's a global story. So I'm in a position that I have a timeless story that I can have to figure out how do I reach more people, that it becomes an emotional buy, that people want to be a part of this and want to wear this because they connect to it.
You see, the funny thing, sorry, and I keep cutting you because it's like I'm so passionate about your situation. Like, you know, I want to drive home to you. Like, I hope I'm getting the communication across to you. Like, it's like I'm telling you right now, your story is as iconic as Bob Marley shirts. You just have to, as you said, you have to figure it out. Like, you know what? Just as big as Bob Marley is globally, internationally known, so is this Olympic story because the world had centered on this. The whole world, you know, as I said, primarily the 60s and 70s, you know, even maybe the 80s, early 80s may have, you know, in that 20-year span, know the story. The younger kids may not know the story, just like they don't know Bob Marley's music per se. They know the imagery, right? And that's how I feel your, you know,
no,
is like, you know what I mean? Like you're
I hear
on
you.
that level. It's just that you have to get to that level.
So again, it's
Like
all
your
about
story. Yeah.
like you said, it's all about stories. And I'll give you another story which you guys didn't probably never knew. Bob Marley's son, who's his son, the oldest one?
Not
Ziggy.
Is Ziggy the eldest?
Yeah, Ziggy, yeah.
Ziggy's the oldest. And guess what year he was born?
Son.
68. Wow.
But what day? Which is ironic.
Oh, I don't know.
So the demonstration was October the 16th, 1968. Bob Marley's
Wow.
son, Ziggy Marley, was born in 1968, October the 16th.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
So that takes it to another level.
The connection, yeah.
I'd give you the story of even Dr. Carlos and Peter Norman and Dr. C. All three of those gentlemen are Geminis on that podium. Dr. C and Dr. Carlos are a day apart.
Oh, wow.
January the 4th and January 5th.
Those are the stories I love.
June, right? Yeah, June.
Yeah, I'm like January.
I know them Geminis. Yeah,
you know, Gemini, exactly. And Peter Norman's born on the 16th or the 14th. All three Geminis on our podium. That's insane. It's like I said,
just all the connections.
I'm telling you this connect. So my whole thing, like how everybody gets emotional when you tell stories, and people, when I get into that part of, I can reel people in because they want to be part of that story because they now connect to it. So this story is bigger than me. It's bigger than all of us, and it's going to continue to be bigger than us.
Well, it's timeless, right?
It's timeless, and that's what you have to be in a position, right?
I know you said that they have to kind of come to you, but the people that, you know, like for instance, the people that market Bob Marley's merchandise, have you not thought about shipping that to them and letting them see it?
No.
Nah, it's weird. I'm not,
and that's a whole other.
Well, like you said, I've given items to people to reach to that person, but you never know if it's gonna get there, bro. You have to be like
and when
yeah, you gotta be like in that person's face to give it to that person.
Right.
I'm not a fan of it, but you have to, in business, you have to give product away. You have to give product.
Yeah.
You got to give product away sometimes, but I'm mindful of that because some people don't have the real intentions behind it, right? People, give me your shirt and I'll wear it on TV for you, and I'll market it for you. I don't give me nothing. I just want to put food on my table, bro. You think that you're gonna get me going? I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Oh no, but I was saying, it's like, you know what? Again, the whole Bob Marley is, you know, they have that market down to a science. They have rolling papers. They have everything. And I'm not saying to turn into a money movement because that's when you lose the power, the potency of the brand and stuff of that nature. But the fact remains is that these guys have learned how to market and turn that into an industry and make it a worldwide iconic. You know, it's bigger than life, right? Like again, every black kid, white kid, Chinese kid, all across the world, everybody has some form of Bob Marley material, whether it's an album, whether it's a shirt, whether it's a poster, whether it's a picture. You know what I mean? It's iconic. And I'm saying is that because you're on this level, you just haven't reached there yet.
No, you're right.
Maybe that'd be advantageous to explore that avenue and say, hey, you know what, Bob Marley Camp, whoever distributes that. Here, look at
I
this.
don't know about that move, because I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah.
When I remember a couple of years ago seeing who was going to be handling their and I don't know the details of it, but when I saw the firm that was going to be handling one part of their business, the
Oh, with the
most
headphones and
what
stuff from Toronto.
not the headphones, is something else they just released in the last couple of years. And when I looked at when I went to the website of the people that were running it, and nobody looked like a Marley,
Oh yeah.
like not
Yeah.
even close. And I was just like, I was actually, now I don't understand how, the deal and how extensive and how, where the role that these people play. So I'm not like saying that the Marleys themselves are etched out, like not very much in control. And they profit off of everything. They're very smart. I'm sure their team has that.
Yeah, they license out.
But there are other little factors with, remember going back to licensing and who actually owned a lot of things of Bob Marley's, because nobody saw when you go back to the beginning and seeing what it has become now. There were people who, anyway, I'm just saying, that's a totally
You're trying
different
to be politically
scenario.
correct, and
But when
you're
I
trying
go
to be.
back, no, but when I go, but when I no, no, but when I go back to what really the one thing that really, really everybody buys into with Bob Marley are his lyrics, his music, and that. So half the people in the world, or more than half the people that are touched by Bob Marley, that are moved by him, I don't think they own a piece of merchandise.
I'm
They've
with you.
heard the music, they can recite the lyrics. They they,
I
the,
totally disagree.
they
I think everybody owns a Bob Marley
no,
poster or a
no.
T-shirt.
I think his reach, no, the point I'm trying to make, I'm not saying that a lot of people don't own his albums, own his music, own some of his collectibles and all the other merchandise that has rolled out since then, because the Marley name is very strong. But I'm going back to the one thing, like, I'm not going to say everybody owns Marley coffee, because not everybody drinks coffee. Not everybody
No, of
owns
course not. I
their
just said a T-shirt or poster.
a t-shirt. Not everybody even owns a t-shirt. But one thing I know that I'm pretty sure everybody's heard his music and has been moved by his music, his lyrics, and that there are some things that can't be sold, basically. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, from a business point of view, and this is, I get what you're saying, but sometimes the essence of um yeah, and with Marley, he reached the world with the music before everything else started rolling out too.
But the
And
point, but the point that I'm trying to say is that what this you got to remember.
I agree with what you're saying. This moment
Yeah,
and this art and
right.
everything from
It's
this
on that
movement,
iconic level.
of
Like
course it is, because
he has captured a moment that's timeless that
mhm,
can go on as long as there is racism and division. This iconic, like iconic symbol, as well as what the movement
mhm,
is something that will always be identifiable to. It doesn't matter what race. It transcends race. It
mhm,
transcends, borders. It just represents struggle. And the point is, I'm trying to say is that you have a aspect of, as I said, the businessman in me says, hey, you know what? This should be on a global level. You know what? I understand the
so
aspect.
point I guess what I'm trying to say, because I'm really thinking about the connection I'm making, is the story, the movement, and the amazing thing that Mark has is he's directly connected to one of those men that stood there. And he's heard, I'm sure, Mark, this is something I'm sure you heard the stories of how because I mean, it wasn't a beautiful story after they took a hit after that. I mean, their
Oh,
lives were changed for the worst after that that moment. You know what I mean, as far as earning, and I didn't even, well, I had heard the part, but I don't even know the details. But like you said, I have to really understand the story and watch and read the complete story. But knowing that they were eliminated, or they were what's the word, I don't know the word. They were basically kicked off for the team for the remaining
Yes.
the remainder of the Olympics, or else the U.S. team could not continue to compete with them on the team. So so right after, I mean, they felt the wrath, like they felt the powers that be said, "Oh no, you did all that. Yeah, that's cute." So I mean, it's a moment in history, but they suffered as a result of that. And I mean, so I think that, and the fact that the injustice and inequality still exists here, I think that's uh, the connection, and that's the story, and that's what will resonate with us. And so I get what you're saying, Kinetic, but I think putting it in the hands of people who just see it as the marketing is going to take it away from what is actually going to connect people and make people connect to this story. And it is the man, and it is the movement, and I mean the art that connects to it. And so I think it would be, it could possibly be kind of careless to put it in the hands of people who just want to see numbers and dollar signs, personally.
Well, as I said, I think, and I hear what you're saying, and not arguing the point, or continue the point, but I just think it's simple as that, is that the story is the
so big and so important.
No, but I'm saying the story is the product.
Oh,
so
true. Yeah.
you can't separate the two. So it doesn't matter how wide. It's kind of like, all right, you don't want to go as big as Bob Marley, but the story is that Bob Marley. It's just selfish not to promote this product. Like, like he said, like Mark, you said that, you know what, you want them to come to you. You're not opposed to idea. The only difference is I want them to come to me. Is that what we're hearing?
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct. And the thing, and that's to let you guys know, there are things in the midst that are happening, because again, it's coming up to the 50th anniversary.
I was about to say.
So a lot of people now are realizing that
timing.
it's the timing behind that. Like even last year for Black History Month, Puma reached out to Tommy Smith and did a collection for him. Like every year, Puma does something with a person who's been a part of the lineage of their stories, and like from basketball players who wore the shoes, from runners to actually basketball players. So last year, Tommy Smith, they did a collection for him. So there are companies that are in the midst of talking. It's just, again, it's figuring out if does it align properly within. So
that would be next October. So
no, not next October. You got one more October, two more. Don't age me so quickly, young lady.
No, it's 68. Hello.
Yeah,
Aren't
so
we in 20? What are we? 2017.
The fall.
That's what I said. Next.
Okay.
Not this coming year. Next year. So
thank you.
Yeah, calm down. Okay.
I know, I'm getting anxious, man.
You're trying to make it all about you. I'm not. Not kidding. But
actually.
So what I was gonna say is, I know for sure. Hopefully, you'll be back to be giving us some good news about what's happening in the growth there, and
the 50th. Things are happening. Like, we already put things into motion that we're trying to do for the 50th.
Sure.
Like, when we did the 40th, I wasn't there for the 40th, and I saw what happened. I'm like, hey, this is a big milestone for 50. So
huge.
We got to come up,
especially what's going on in the world today.
Exactly. So people have, like I said, there's things that are happening in the midst that we're looking into. We're just, like I said, I'm just thankful to be on this journey with him. I'm just doing my role, just coming with ideas and coming again, just being creative, right? And getting the freedom just to produce more stuff based on the 50th anniversary. So
Kinetic, you were gonna say something, actually.
Yeah. So no, when you said about him personally, like, it's not about him. And I wanted to segue and sidestep for a minute. And Mark, outside of this movement, graphics, I mean, you can't separate the man from art, but what do? You play ball, like you said, you play ball. Like, what do you do? What is your hobbies outside of that? Who are you outside of art, and what's going on? Like,
outside of my business,
the graphic design, the business.
I still in the business. Like, I still give back. So there's an organization called RISE that's in Scarborough. It's the acronym from RISE is Reaching Intelligent Souls Everywhere. So there's a young man named Randall Ajay that who's the founder of the organization. What happens with RISE is that it's a safe space, as a platform for any form of artistry to come to on the Monday night in Scarborough at Burroughs Hall. that have every Monday since the last 4 years, coming to the 5th anniversary.
Wow.
That kids will come over, like you see, up to like minimum 50 to 100 kids will be there on a Monday night,
Wow.
coming to express them. You guys got to come. If any Monday you guys are free, make a day to come to Scarborough, and you'll see the energy that comes in this space. Like it's like a church. It's like a church on a Monday.
How often are you there?
I'm every Monday. I'm
Oh,
committed.
wow. Okay.
I've been committed to this young man, because I realized in life that you got to be in a position of giving back, and you're giving back the way of your knowledge of your experience to actually bring the next kids forward. So I'm just there as a mentor. At the same time, I learn from them. It keeps me young at the same time, keeps me relevant in what I do. And I realize in this business is that you got to be in a position that you can give back. At the same time, when they're at a stage in their life that they have the financial gains, that they will support you in the long terms because they believe in what you've been doing. And that's the one thing I do is going back into even to the junior, like high schools and public schools, and do mentoring there. So that's on my side as well. I don't play basketball anymore, only in the mind, because the body can't do the things that it would like it to do. So outside of that is that.
Are you a family man without going into your personal business? Do you have
Yeah.
kids?
I'm a family man. No kids, to be honest. No kids, but I'm a family man. We have a pretty big family. I think the children are the people from Rise, and then my child is my art. That's probably the sacrifice I gave up. Is the way it's just focusing on and seeing what I can do, because I know having children sets you back. That the things because now it's about them now, right? And I'm kind of guess I'm selfish in the way that I have to get. I've been this far, and I gotta get what has to happen in my life. So no children at this moment, but we'll see what happens in the near future, of course. But I'm just living the struggle, brother. Living the struggle.
Well, I think we're gonna. I mean, we can go on and on and on, but we've reached our 2-hour mark, and
We did 2 hours. Okay, yeah.
yeah, I told you it goes by. I mean, I think we touched on a lot, but like I said, I'm sure there's more to come. So hopefully you'll be back to revisit us with some updates. In the meantime, I'll remind the people the website liwi68.com. So liwi68.com. And how else can people keep up with you?
Instagram will be the same thing, LIWI68 or LIWI 1968. I don't know why I messed up on that one, but anyways, that's a long story.
Oh, okay.
So I have 2 pages. Facebook, of course, which is Mark Lewy Stoddard. Twitter, LIWI68. So it pretty much has been running that same thing. And how about this? If somebody is online now and they want to order something right now, and they do, I will throw in another package in that deal. They'll get a double bonus.
Oh, wow. What do you mean? So
well,
2 of whatever they order?
No, if you order something, somebody orders something right now, I will throw in another item in there for free.
Oh, okay.
But we'll see.
You can't just do it now. You got to give us a little 24-hour window or something.
Of course, no. I give you the
cake special
what's today?
Or something.
Today's
the 21st still.
What's today? Today's still a Tuesday, so I'll leave it up. I'll leave it up to Wednesday. If I get it has to be from Toronto. If it says US, I already know that. I already get my U. But anybody from Toronto.
I was about to say, because our reach is into the States as well, right? So,
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Till tomorrow. Okay, then somebody from the US. If they, yeah. Let them do anybody from the US.
Okay, well, I'm gonna get the details, and I'm gonna post it on my Instagram, which is Cake with Kiersey, and Facebook and Twitter as well. So I'll send that out for anybody, because as you may or may not know, this show is available as a podcast. So and a lot of people do listen that way. And
so I should stop myself and say I changed my mind.
No. We'll put a time on it. So if you happen to be listening to this week from the live show, then I guess it really doesn't apply to you.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Still Wednesday.
But we'll put a deadline on it. That's cool for you to extend that to us. And yeah, so most of the podcast players. So you can catch us on TuneIn Radio, iTunes, YouTube. Oh my gosh, I don't have my list. SoundCloud, and there are a couple other
Basically all
ones.
social media.
Yeah, and Kinetic. You can follow Kinetic.
And I can, you said it best.
Kinetic 100. Mainly on Instagram. He keeps it very entertaining, his page, with all kind of craziness. So check him out. And we'll definitely well, I've been following you, Mark. So
Oh, that's nice.
I just want to thank you again for making the time
No, it's not a
and
problem.
being so open with us. Gosh, I didn't know I was going to get that much out of you.
Really, I
Your
didn't even know.
childhood, we went back in history. That was cool though.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
again, the one thing I always realize, and what even Dr. C says, is that there's two things guaranteed: is your life and your death.
Mm,
So it's what you do in between that. You know what I mean? That dash in between that of your
Dash.
life that you have to make, that leaves your imprint, your legacy, your story, right? So
hmm
hopefully throughout this conversation that we kind of gets left some kind of an impression for people to believe in. They can do anything they want to do.
I'm
That's
pretty
for
sure you
sure.
have. I'm pretty sure you have. And check the site. Much more inspiration there, and it's gorgeous actually. So I'll be checking it out again. And just a reminder to everybody, vexradio.com, best place to listen to hip hop and R&B 24/7. If you'd like to send a shout out or even request your favorite song, dial 1-877-469-3016. Choose option 1 for your shout out. And you can actually record your own shout out, people. That's how it works. So you choose option 1, you record a shout out, it gets played on air throughout the day. And if you'd like to request a song that you would actually hear that day at some point, just enter option 2. Again, the number 1-877-469-3016. And check the site, vexradio.com, for the latest on music, tech, sports. There's a lot of information there daily, updated daily. So check it out. And again, thank you, Mark, for being an amazing guest. I think we have a
No,
great
thank you for the
conversation.
invite. Like I said,
Yeah.
you keep it real, all right? So
Yeah, for real, for real. Real
everything.
talk. Right, Kinetic.
Right.
And thanks to Kinetic's Mike for actually or whatever your system, for
Majority of it.
working for the majority of the time. Like we could say 95%. It's probably the best it's behaved. So thank you, system. Anyway, we'll catch up again and we'll be in touch. I have a feeling Kinetic's gonna keep a conversation with Mark, get into some numbers and dollars and all that. So
Oh, the business side, right?
the business. So until next time, everybody. Take care.
All right. Peace.
All right.